Hello, I'm Simon Pine from Greener Energy Futures, and I can't do what I do alone. So I'm essentially I work solo as a energy and carbon consultant. But that doesn't mean that I can't tackle big problems. In order to tackle big problems for clients and to tackle big challenges, I like to bring in organisations that I can trust, who have the capability to really support me on those issues, because there's so many different scopes of carbon, and organisations sometimes want carbon footprints done very quickly. And that's why I've been working with FutureLeap for quite some time now on these kind of net zero plans. And I think it's worth talking a bit about one of the customers we've both worked on. But before I do that, just give me a bit of a quick view on FutureLeap and what you do as an organisation.
What we do as an organisation? Well, we do a lot, and it's all around helping businesses progress towards decarbonisation.
Okay.
So we're a sustainability consultancy. There's a team of about 10 of us,
Okay.
and we do everything from carbon footprinting and carbon measurement to net zero strategies, helping people actually implement those net zero strategies, and then training and development as well. So if you work in a business and no one knows what sustainability means, we can come in and do a training program to help people understand that. But we too, because helping businesses to decarbonize and helping businesses to become more sustainable, there's just a whole host of different specialities that are involved in that, and we too partner with people like yourself when it comes to a really specialist subject that isn't in our wheelhouse. So we have you as our energy specialist, we've got a biodiversity specialist, we've got solar panel specialists, we've got training specialists. So yeah, it's really a team effort from a lot of different specialities to actually help businesses, because not all businesses are the same and not all businesses need the same thing.
It's very true, very true. And I think also not all businesses view sustainability in the same way. It's some of them are wider in the way they look at it. They're more themes, as you've highlighted, biodiversity and so on. And some of them are longer term. So that, how do we skill up to get ourselves in a place where we can deliver decarbonisation, hence the training capacity. So that's a really valuable tool to add to organisations' plans. And I think there's one organisation that I've worked with that we've collaborated on, which kind of exemplifies some of the real successes you can have from partnering together, and something that organisations might want to think about. I'll give a bit of a background on this organisation. So they're a multinational electronics manufacturer with significant energy costs, but also significant public exposure to carbon as an issue. They've taken on science-based targets, and a year or so ago, they needed to produce a very rapid carbon footprint to take to the market on their public accounts. And that wasn't something that I wanted to do alone. I wanted oversight and checking and capacity to do with it. So I brought in one of your team to help with that, which was really valuable. And I know that you've got you said you've got sort of 10 people, but there's a dedicated team of real carbon specialists, aren't there? Of in-house carbon footprinters.
Yeah, absolutely. Carbon footprinting, carbon measurement, net zero, that's really where our bread and butter is.
Yeah.
And it's where we certainly see that we can make the most, help businesses have the most value from working in this space.
Yeah, and your colleague did a fantastic job, frankly. And for this particular organisation, as well as that sort of strategic view on carbon and their exposure to it, what we've been tackling more recently is energy, and they're certainly, like a lot of organisations, seeing energy as a risk and as an exposure. Despite having hedged their contracts and so on, they're going to see big price rises, and they're liable for ESOS, which is obviously coming very soon, coming at the end of the year. Liability hits at the end of this year. But organisations are well advised to think about doing those energy audits now, because you can do your energy audit now and bank the savings that come out of that, and then be in a good position when the prices do rise, because we're a more efficient and slicker organisation. So I see that as a real exposure and a deliverable of a real benefit, a tangible benefit. And I think we've been talking about this, the need for organisations to see real benefit from carbon plans, not just, well, we've got a number.
Oh yes, gone are the days where you can just do a carbon footprint and that is your carbon work for the year.
Yeah.
Because everyone from your board, your employees, your customers, the people in your supply chain, they don't just want to see a number now. They want to see that number going down over time, and they want you to be actually making progress towards net zero.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a number of phrases that have been bandied around, like greenwashing, green hushing. And I think, as an organisation trying to progress those ambitions, being able to express what you're doing in a very tangible way, rather than going like, well, we've got to carbon neutral, plant some trees, which is, I think now seen as nonsense.
Yeah.
Being able to show tangible progress is really helpful. Are there any tangible projects or outcomes you've been able to show clients the way to?
Absolutely. I mean, when we do a carbon footprint and a net zero strategy, one of the most tangible next steps is to do an energy audit, because that gives you not only your carbon hotspots or places of inefficiency, but then typically also your cost hotspots and parts of inefficiency. So we had a client, a big food and beverage manufacturer, and actually we helped them to, they did the energy audit, and then there was the real opportunity to have solar panels on the roof. So we actually supported them to get the funding they needed to purchase solar panels. And that's really brought down their scope 1 and 2 emissions.
Yes. No, that's fantastic. And I think, again, I think for this, going back to this electronics manufacturer we worked on as well, similar kind of angle. With them, we identified a building control issue, that they didn't have what's called a dead band. Their heating and cooling were just running continuously, and we were able to save them £60,000 in energy costs with a 4-hour intervention. So, it absolutely can be tangible to go and deliver carbon and cost savings in tandem for organisations. And so, I think from what we're saying, kind of pulling this picture together, organisations should be thinking about now delivering net zero as a beneficial cost benefit opportunity from, let's say, energy savings, for example, but also maybe nailing other strategic benefits as well. Now is a good time to do an energy audit because of the prices, but also it's a good time to pivot on net zero to this kind of, co-benefits idea. Are there any other kind of benefits that organisations are looking for when they do net zero?
I feel like these days the conversation has moved a lot more to risk management.
Okay.
So it's not just, this is a nice to have. It's, okay, this is how we're going to future-proof our business. And this is how we can actually create a real competitive advantage in the marketplace if your competitors aren't doing it.
Okay.
So it's actually more about, okay, how are we going to make sure that this business is still functioning in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time?
Yeah.
And your carbon footprints, your energy audits, they're just a way of actually looking at what the risks associated with your business are and how you can mitigate them.
Yeah, I like that view. So, quantifying, putting these numbers down as risk factors.
Yeah.
And I think in an increasingly volatile world, tackling your energy in particular feels really relevant right now, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, and really also tackling the carbon impacts across your value chain is a really good perspective on where the business is going and its future health.
Yeah. And we're also seeing a lot of businesses that we work with, if they're working with NHS in their supply chain, they actually now can't get access to NHS contracts unless they have
good point.
the NHS Evergreen survey. So they have to have their carbon footprint, they have to have a reduction plan in place.
Yeah.
And even better if they can show that they've been making progress towards that, because then it just shows that you're it shows your main supplier that you're actually serious about it.
Yes, exactly. And of course there's PPN 621 as well, which obliges people with 5 million or more of public contract value to be doing a net zero plan as well. So plenty of compliance reasons. So I think hopefully today what we're giving you is some real sense of the business trajectory of net zero. Why do it, what the exposures are, and what you should be thinking about when you're planning for that kind of net zero trajectory, and how partnering with organisations like FutureLeap and Green Energy Futures can help you do that. Tell me one interesting fact about FutureLeap that people might not know.
We also are a very good sustainability consultancy, but we also have a co-working space and a media studio.
Which we're in. It's lush.
Which we're in right now.
It's great.
Because, again, we're all about helping people make progress in whichever way they want to make it.
Yes.
So for a lot of our co-workers, it's just sitting in a room with like-minded people and not feeling isolated on this journey. Or from a media studio's perspective, it's about, okay, how can we get people telling the really cool stories about sustainability in a really professional way? So
fabulous.
We've got a lot of
fabulous. And it is a lovely space. I'd recommend anybody who needs a working space in Bristol. It's a lovely space to work in with lovely people, and these are great facilities as well. So
you can record a podcast on your lunch break.
Good point. Talking of which, I need lunch. Thank you, Laura. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody.